Everyone, in today's video I'll be showing you how I made a pair of Majora's Mask earrings from, Majora's Mask. I have to admit I haven't actually played the game, but I did read the manga, and I really liked it. Anyway, to start out, I sculpted out two roughly heart-shaped pieces of polymer clay in the size I wanted the earrings to be. At this point, if you want to follow this as a tutorial, don't make the same mistake I did and insert the eye pin before making the clay. I was being stupid and ended up having to drill holes into the hardened clay to put them in. So, that sucked. My next step was sanding the baked clay so the paint would stick better. As you can see, tragedy struck and one of the masks snapped in half since I was being too rough with the sanding. Thankfully, I glued the two pieces back together, baked it with Sculpey Bacon Bond, and all was well. My next step was to make the eyes. For each mask, I flattened two tiny balls of clay and glued them with Bacon Bond to either end of the mask. I had initially tried sculpting the mask spikes with clay, but I deemed the process too intensive and switched to toothpicks. Clay spikes likely would have been too fragile anyway, so it all worked out in the end. I sanded the tips of several toothpicks down to have slightly blunter ends and snipped them off with scissors. To keep things quick, I glued each of the tiny spikes to the mask with tweezers and superglue, and let them dry for around an hour. After arduously inserting the eye pins and gluing the rest of the spikes, I painted both masks with purple acrylic paint. For the rest of the colors on the face of the mask, I made sure to lay down a white base coat so they would stand out against the dark purple. I had to lay down several coats of the other colors as well to make sure they weren't streaky. Unfortunately, I lost the footage of painting the golden details above the eyes, as well as the green in the hollows of the cheekbones. At this point, I know the masks look really rough, but trust the process on this one. I promise they get better. Anyways, my next step was to paint the white details. I had to chop up one of my crappy paintbrushes to get a thin enough line on it, but all in all, I think it turned out alright. It really helped to go back in with the dark purple to clean things up a bit. My next step was to go in with a fine-tip pen and make itty-bitty dots to indicate the holes around the mouth area. Then I mixed a light beige color and painted each of the horns around the mask. While I allowed those to dry a little, I worked on painting the eyes, careful to preserve the orange to yellow gradient and holding my breath to make the tiny green pupils. Lastly, I dusted the tips of the horns with their respective colors, and after letting everything dry for a few hours, sprayed them down with a matte finishing spray. Off camera, I dotted each of the eyes with UV resin to give them a glossy look, and I think it turned out pretty cool, but as far as I see it, this step is entirely optional. To complete the project, I hooked earring pieces to each charm, using pliers to bend the wire and being careful not to scratch any paint. And with that, the earrings are finished. Thank you so much for tuning in on my progress. These were a ton of fun to make, and I wear them like any opportunity that I get, despite the fact that they kind of make me look like a dork, but, you know, who cares? They look freaking awesome, and I like them, so yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.